Now, the other thing I just wanted to mention, and I've touched on it, is bad character. So I'm not going to spend any more time on that, because I've got to actually look at myself. Got to be careful soon going over. Can I just touch on a couple of other issues? And I know you're not, well, some of you are from aviation, but I just want to tell you where I think things are going in terms of our regulators. I know Bruno's here from the HSE. I don't want to pick on the HSE in any way. There's been a recent case, and I'll ask you to think about this, from aviation. Now, in aviation, there's an international convention called Chicago. And inside that is Annex 13. So when your plane crashes, don't worry, everything is arranged about what they're going to try and do to find out what caused the crash to stop it happening again. But the reports of those people, in this country called the AAIB, make reports into these incidents. The theory is so that it can't happen again. Got it? But now, the Court of Appeal has recently, in a case called Hoyle earlier this year, said from now on, these reports are admissible inside the courts to the judges and to the juries. It's civil or criminal law. I mean, I do both, because I don't see there's any difference. And at the end of the day, that has also got a very chilling effect, because what effect is that going to have on the investigators and regulators? Now they're trying to stop the accident happening. They are trying to work with people, you know, give us the information so we don't have this again, etc., etc. But now that these are admissible for the first time in English courts and soon to be around the Commonwealth countries, Australia as well, I've just been there, as I said, twice in 6 weeks. At the end of the day, they are going to introduce a similar thing. They're going to be much more cautious. They're going to be much less willing to give an opinion. There's going to be a lot less of this arm around the shoulder. Well done, Harry. I know you've investigated this accident, terrible for the airline, you know, but we'll try and work together. It's going to be none of that. And it's going to actually have a very chilling effect. And I don't want to be political here, but I'm very against fees for intervention, because I think that it's actually causing that chilling effect as well, where the inspectors can no longer, what I call, informally deal with things. It's now very regimented and run by the asylum, which is the lawyers. And by the way, on fees for intervention, which is probably the most dangerous thing to people in this room, whether they don't know it or not, or their contractors and subcontractors, which will eventually get you in the courts, civil and criminal courts, if you don't get it right. Because if they cock up, we all go down, you know? That's what everyone forgets. But by the way, it's within 21 days you have to appeal. And a lot of people are being caught out because they're appealing on the 21st day. That's too late. Out. 20 days. 20 days. So you've got to be in there on the 19th day, being in reality. So don't get caught out like some people that come to me and they say, what are we going to do? I said, well, we're going to have to ask for an extension. You know, might get it, might not get it. But if you come 3-4 months later, the HSE is never going to give you that extension. And you've got bad character evidence for the rest of your natural lives. Now, I've got to be really careful on the timing, because I can't boss everyone else around, even though they've been absolutely fantastic on time today. Best lot I've ever had. Best crop of speakers I've ever had the privilege and pleasure to chair. But I can't cock that up and go over my time. And we've so many other areas you can imagine that we could cover. And we haven't even had a chance to, for example, deal with victims and people that actually have had a chance to have lost their lives and their loved ones. And, you know, at the end of the day...
Oh, my God. Oh. You left a note by the bed. It said, awesome, Gail. You were awesome, sweetheart.
You're pointing at me.
I saw you
in the bar last night.
It's me, Gail.
Oh, God.
Hiya.
Vicky, can I come away early tonight?
How are you doing? What a laugh we had last night. What were you like?
And she's Scottish. Not Newcastle.
Oh my God, I can't believe I slept in my shoes. Would you take a look at that? Oh, Sharon and I were plastered before we even left the house last night. We fell in love with 12 guys. I showed them my new shoes, Manolo Blahniks, like her from Sex and the City. One of them said to me that they were my let's party shoes. And I says, let's party. And he says, aye, okay then, doll. I have never done this before. I mean, I used to have a drink in that when Fraser was away working or on one of his courses or something, but I'd save myself for him, you know what I mean? I'd save myself. Oh, we kept our marriage alive, Fraser and I. Sometimes if he'd been out working late or something, I'd keep my sexy gear on underneath the covers when he got in, and he said it was like coming home to a big Christmas present on Christmas Day. Except better, because he wouldn't have to sit down and eat with my mother afterwards. I'd slap him for that. Sometimes he'd pick me up and he'd carry me around the house like Superman. Oh, like Superman-y. I loved him so much. It used to drive me mad when he went away. I mean, well, don't get me wrong, there were times when I wanted to smash his face in, like he mucked up my routine when he was kicking about the house, eh? A wee fight would always clear the air. And sometimes I'd go to my work when he was off, and he'd stay at home and he'd do DIY, and he'd watch telly, he'd play footy with the guys, or he'd work on his car. He's got a rare Capri, a 280, one of only 300 in the UK. He used to take me for a spin in it between customers at the salon. You could hear the engine roaring halfway up the high street, and Sharon would say to me, has he gone and pricked a hole in that exhaust again? Oh, I loved that car. And on a Sunday, we'd lounge about in bed together all day, and we'd say, I wish we could stay home forever, eh? I wish we could stay home forever. After the accident, I took time off my work and I sat with him, and it was like being caught up in someone else's life. But see the intensive care people. See what they did for us. They were amazing. They made us feel special. And when they sent us up to the main ward after he'd got through the worst, the sister there said to me, don't imagine he's going to get spoiled like he was down the stairs. Spoiled. He couldn't walk. He couldn't feel anything from the waist down. Anything. And when they sent us home, they told us it would be easier to deal with if we didn't think that we would find a cure, that we should try and see the positive side of the whole thing, that life didn't stop because he was in a chair. And life didn't stop right enough. So I got my husband home, like I'd always wanted. I got my Fraser home, except he wasn't the same Fraser. That was 2 years ago now. 2 years, it seems like 10. I never went back to my work in the end. I mean, I miss the girls in the salon, but he can't do much without me. I mean, well, some things he can, but he'll not get out unless I take him. It takes us an hour just to get to Asda. He's not the first, and he won't be the last. There's 82% of people with spinal injuries are men. There's many worse than him. But it's his depression that I struggle with the most. I mean, I tried to help him. I used to take him to the pub to meet his mates, but he'd drink too much, and because he can't drink as much as before with spinal injuries, so now he stays in the house and he has a smoke and he goes into himself. The boys at work, they had a whip round. They kept a big pickled egg jar in the mess room with Fraser McCallum written on it. One of these huge, big pickled egg jars, filled it to the brim with £20 notes. There was near enough £2,000 in it. Calls it his stash fund. He says that he needs the to help him forget that he's a cripple or to make it more interesting. So yesterday we had a row, and I said some things that I didn't mean, except I did, but I didn't, if you ken what I mean. Because I'd found this article about sex and spinal injuries on the internet, because people still have sex, they still do it, you just need to find new ways. But he thought I was trying to humiliate him, and he told me to go off and find a real man. And I said, if you don't pick your face off the floor and stop feeling sorry for yourself, I will. He called me an ugly bitch. So I phoned my mum, and I asked her to do the night for me, and then I phoned my pal Sharon, because she's always up for a night out, and I've not been out for ages. So here I am, standing in What's-His-Face's hotel in my let's party shoes, thinking about the guy I love, feeling ugly inside and out. And I'm so angry. I keep going back to the day it happened, to the 20 seconds it took for the accident to happen. I mean, what possessed him? Why were the pipes there? Who told him he could move the sacks? And I'm not talking about the official report here. I'm talking about that moment in his head. Did he think he could get away with it? Did he not think? Had he got away with it before? I mean, why had no one changed the batteries in the radio, for Christ's sake? So many small things. How could this have happened? He said they'd really cleaned up their act at work. It was all zero tolerance for all risk. But sometimes when he was home, he'd have a drink and he'd tell me the stories of the near misses. And do you know what? He turned me on, because I felt proud that my man was out there fighting the elements of being a man. I loved the macho thing. I loved his rough hands on my body. The HSE guy said that they needed to take down a full account of the incident, that they needed a comprehensive report of the accident, that all LTIs needed a comprehensive report submitted. LTIs? I asked, what's that? Lost time incident, it tells me. Lost time. Costs a lot. It's 20 seconds of something in Fraser's head. I mean, you can see how it happens. I mean, I leave the bath running sometimes. I leave my keys in the lock. I put the milk in the oven. There's 20 seconds. I've got a flooded bathroom. I've got to change the locks because someone's made off with my keys. I've got a lost milk incident too. The HSE guy said that they can only make the site so safe, but at the end of the day, it's people that cause the accidents because we're human. Well, I'm human. And I need him to touch me, to make love to me, to make me forget. And Fraser's human. He forgot for 20 seconds. He made a bad judgment call. He mucked up. My brilliant, beautiful man who made me feel like a queen, gone because he took one wrong step. One wrong step, a story that won't make it to the nights in the pub where I'd feel proud and lucky and we'd laugh in the face of it all. This time, there was no near miss. This time we got stung, him and me, down together, living this shitty life. 20 seconds of human error. Half life. Stuck in a shitty never to end half-life desperately looking for the answers to the questions which the next victim and the next victim and the next victim and their wives and friends and families and children will ask over and over again. At the end of the day, most accidents are caused by people. I can't believe I slept in my shoes.